This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Woo, it's a freaking Friday. We about to get down. Wait,
freaky?
What?
But,
freaky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We about to freak y'all with these sports topics for today. How about this? Shohei Otani to the Braves. Woo, what the heck is going on there? Desmond Ridder. Is he really ready to take over as the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons? And last but not least, and for the culture, why doggone the Nationals being cheap with Juan Soto? We'll talk about all of that and for the culture. But first, T. Oh, yeah, don't forget, give us a follow on Twitter at JarvisD90 and at Tenitra Batiste. We really appreciate that. We got some good stuff going over there. And Locked On ATL is our Twitter page for Locked On Sports Atlanta. We want to thank you guys for making us your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast and wherever you download your podcast. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. Now, T, the Atlanta Braves set to take on the Anaheim Angels. Charlie Morton's on the mound. Ironically, Shohei Otani is on the mound as well. Like I mentioned before, we'll get into what the heck is going on with that. But first, I think that the Braves get coming out of the All-Star break. I think that, with a guy like I think it's a little ironic that Charlie Morton is on the mound tonight because this is a guy that we need to see a good performance from in his first game back from the All-Star break.
No question. He is going to be a critical piece of the Braves making that run in the second half. They, of course, closed the gap from 10 games out to 2.5 games to be in the top of the division, right? I feel like Charlie Morton needs to, not just the Braves need to get out of the gates with a series win, which I do think they can pull off. They've done it before against the Angels, but I also think it's important and critical for him to get this win, if for nothing else, to kind of boost his confidence. But one thing I do like about Charlie Morton is he does, even with his age, kind of get better as the season wears on. So we're hoping that the same thing we kind of saw last season from him, we'll see again in the second half of this season.
No doubt about it. And I think that it's something that, you want to be able to look out for in the pitching staff, because if he doesn't perform well, maybe Alex Anthopoulos considers making a phone call and trying to figure out, hey, how can I add to this starting rotation? Who can I can kind of play around with some things a little bit? Is Ian Anderson in that conversation? And I think that, we all know that Alex Anthopoulos thinks about all scenarios.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that he's going to be working the phones as we get closer to the trade deadline. But speaking of the trade deadline, maybe you can put a little money on a possible trade that the Braves could make with T. Tell them about betonline.net and what they got going on for our listeners and our viewers.
Yes, betonline.net. That is your number one source for all your betting needs and even sports info. So first of all, they give you the latest sports developments, league reviews, news, Major League Baseball. Like we said, over under for Alex Anthopoulos trading big time. Well, they'll give you some information on whether or not you should bet that way. NBA as well, and any over under on really any of your favorite teams. In fact, you can get some good insight for them as well in terms of what you think. Even we haven't talked about it in a little while. It's been quiet, but what will the Hawks do before this offseason ends? So again, that's where you can go to get sports wagering info, live betting, esports scores. And then we even talk about them having information about niche sports like MMA, like golf, like boxing. You can get it all there. You head to that website today, of course, after you watch our show or listen to our show, and you can use the mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. And for me as a sportscaster and for Jarvis as a sportscaster as well, that's the important part for us to be able to kind of watch trends. So again, Bet Online is where the game starts. And if you want to check them out, go to betonline.net.
Go ahead and do that. Now, speaking of, trades and stuff like that, and Alex Anthopoulos working the phones. There's a guy who, is not a general manager, but he works for the MLB Network, Dan Plesac. So they, how they do it this time of year. They do the whole bold predictions and try to see what's going on and play general manager and all that good stuff, right? So he just went all off the board with this one. So he said for basically financial flexibility, now they do have some, some big boy contracts on the books over there in Anaheim, but so I think that this is kind of where his mindset is. So kind of to save some money in the long run, he said that Shohei Otani will be an Atlanta Brave. Everybody knows who our favorite is on this show, and I think that in order for them to even think about trading for Shohei Otani, I gotta believe that Michael Harris might be a part of this trade in this dream scenario.
Right. And everybody, all of our listeners, all of our viewers everywhere, did you hear what Jarvis just said? Dream scenario, okay?
Yes, dream.
So we're just kind of following the path that the MLB Network analyst already set out there. We're not the cray-cray, okay? But we're going to react to the cray-cray because that's exactly what that was. Now, when you think about what Alex Anthopoulos did last year, yes, we can agree that at the trade deadline and even right before, he worked magic. I mean, he really worked magic. Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, Adam Duvall, Eddie Rosario, all to help them go on that run to the World Series. But Jarvis, I think this might be asking for too much. And listen, I wanted to share this with you because I thought that you would A, find it hilarious, and B, could do like me and co-sign. And that is, I looked at the clip from MLB Network, and then I kind of did like the trending on Twitter, right? And looked at a couple tweets. And this is what somebody said, one of the guys on the network, and then one of the tweets. This is what the Braves would have to give the Angels. The whole Mississippi Braves team, for starters. Give up
a whole affiliate, minor league affiliate, right? Like here, take the whole team.
Take them all. And if not them, right? Mike Soroka, Spencer Strider, Michael Harris, Jesus Christ, Bob Ross, Kevin Durant, Tyler Murray, Ryan Reynolds, players you don't even have, Jarvis.
Guys, you ain't even drafted yet. We ain't drafted me yet, but more than likely we're going to get him. So here, you take him too.
KD. Kyler Murray, it was just the funniest thing. And of course, we know Kyler Murray just got that amazing contract. But anyway, I just thought that was hilarious. Like, whoa, you really would have to kind of give up all of that to get him. And legitimately, I don't think the Braves are in that ballpark of needing to do that.
No doubt about it. But they would be in the ballpark tonight against, the Anaheim Angels, against Shohei Otani. He's going to be on the mound. Charlie Morton is going to be on the mound for the Braves, and hopefully they can get off to a good start and get a win in the first game of this series. And last but not least, T, now you talked about, the daytime situation going on with the Dream, being on the road. How about Nneka Ogwumike just going slap off on the Dream yesterday? What was that all about? She had something personal against them or something?
well, maybe personal because in the second game of the season, that was an L that the Sparks took out at Gateway Center. So Sparks were looking to return the favor, and the Ogwumike sisters actually kind of did the damage all by themselves. And don't get me wrong, there were a couple of Dream players that had solid games, right? Once again, Tip Hayes,
yep, of course.
She was solid. Ari McDonald, I've been saying all season, has done a fantastic job of leading the second unit. She also had 18 points, and Ryan Howard had a solid night, almost a double-double, 10 points, 9 rebounds. But again, they were just out for blood yesterday. And I think, too, Jarvis, as the season winds down, they're looking at the fact that everybody, you have those final spots to go on that playoff run, and the Sparks are right there in the chase. So I think this was one of those games that they knew they had to absolutely win.
No doubt about it. They knew they had to absolutely win. And speaking of winning, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, they want to win some games this year. Yeah. But is Desmond Ridder going to be available to do that? Is he going to be capable of doing that? We'll talk about all that next right here on ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T, part of Locked On Sports.
Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra. That is Jarvis, and we appreciate you guys for just rocking with us all the way through this week, and really since the start of the show, but particularly all the way through this week where we saw our numbers go up past 2,500 subscribers for the Locked On Sports Atlanta network, and you guys continue to just give us those 5-star reviews. So we just want to tell you that we appreciate you. And you know what else we appreciate, Jarvis? The fact that training camp, some real football, is coming our way next week, and we are super excited about it. But an interesting turn of events just ahead of training camp was announced on Thursday, and let's talk about that. The Falcons placed Dion Jones on the PUP list, dealing with the shoulder injury, and they announced that on Thursday. Some are expecting Debo to return early in training camp with no designated period that he must be out for compared to a designated period in the regular season, right? But my question to you is this. Do you actually expect Debo to come back, or is putting him on this PUP list yet another signal that his 6-year stint in Flowery Branch is actually done?
I think it's definitely the latter because I don't think we're going to see Dion Jones in a Falcons uniform ever again. Unless they come back and they put him in a ring of honor some 10, 15 years from now. I don't see him being in the Falcons uniform anymore because let's just go back to the beginning of this thing, right? This was weird. Like at the end of the day, he had a procedure in the springtime where, the season ended in December, January, right? So why did you take so long to get this procedure done? And then all of a sudden now, as soon as practice starts to get coming around and the media is going to, they're going to start asking questions about certain things, you go ahead and say, oh, well, he's been excused or he's not going to be around and all this good stuff. He had a procedure, blah, 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 blah. Now you fast forward to right before we get ready for the veterans to report on Tuesday, you get the news of the PUP list. I think this is exactly what they started when they said that, hey, this procedure got done. This is why, he's not going to be around. So the PUP list is why he's going to be around. So don't ask us about any questions. And meanwhile, Terry Fontenot is back here on the phone. We'll take a seat. Yeah, that's what's going on in my eyes. Like because you gotta have to kind of take a deeper dive into it because look at how many middle linebackers they have on this squad. You got Kwiatkowski, another Chicago Bear, and that's coming in. You got Anderson, who they drafted in the second round. You got Michael Walker coming back, who I think is going to be he's my pick, who's going to be a breakout guy. For the Atlanta Falcons this year. So it's just a lot. And those guys all are similarly built too, right? They're not the 215, 208 dripping wet like Dion Jones. They're in that 230, 235, maybe even 240 range. And they can
at the height of their powers with speed too. So you got the power and the speed.
Yep, you got power and the speed along, and that was one of Dion Jones's, best attributes when he came into the league. But he wasn't necessarily the biggest guy, but that worked for that particular system, Dan Quinn's system. But now, as we know that Dion Jones is not a fit for this system. So I think that right now the PUP list buys him time, and like I said, he can be on there for as long as he wants. There's no time period. So. You don't have to worry about any questions being asked about him when he's coming back and all that good stuff and what's going on with him. And you can also work the phones and figure out what's going on. Like, hey, here's the medicals. This dude he's ready to roll. So, hey, let's go ahead and work a deal.
Right, because you make a great point. Dion Jones is one of the leaders he's been one of the leaders on that team for most of his 6 seasons here, right? But his body, it just took him until really midway through last season to kind of look like Debo. And then, think about it, he didn't look like Debo for the whole back half of last season. Part of it was probably injury, but I think you hit on something as well. A big part of it was scheme as well. And unfortunately, Debo, the human being, may fit in with Dean Pease and the Falcons organization. Debo, the player, probably does not with what they're going towards, whether you look at who they picked up in free agency or whether you look at what they did in the draft. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, this might be the swan song for Debo. Now, you talk about those players who are going to be with the team and still hopefully making a splash and making some noise this coming fall. So let's take a look at Desmond Ridder. Of course, when the Falcons decided to draft him, we know that that's where the conversation started, right?
Right.
About Ridder maybe taking Marcus Mariota's spot. And then that tone changed a little on Ridder's part, because as we talked with him during those early OTA days and with the rookie mini camp, one of the things he talked about was getting in the building, starting to learn that playbook and getting out on that field. And he realized, wow, it may take a little bit more for me to be ready to be that starting QB in the fall. Now, we know the veterans, they're getting ready to come back, just as you mentioned, report on Tuesday, just ahead of the start of training camp. So now we're going to be looking at Ridder. We're going to be looking at Mariota to see who's going to likely be that QB in position based on what we see out of training camp. But that's my question to you as well. What is the ideal scenario likely going to be at the QB position in 2022? I mean, how do you think it's going to play out, especially with the Falcons being still, even today, one of those 5 teams that's interested in Jimmy Garoppolo? But before you tell me about Jimmy G, let's tell our audience about your interest and your love for Built Bars.
No doubt about it. I literally just got finished checking out the coconut brownie chunk chunk puff. Like, I absolutely love the chunk puff, because when you think about, talk about protein bars, they're always super like hard and all that stuff, and sometimes it almost tastes like it's just grainy in your mouth. That's not Built Bar. This is these are the guys that know how to invent. They have invented healthy and tasty, and they are coming with the latest gift to your taste buds. Like I said, the coconut brownie chunk puff. It is built for the flavor that you love, and deliciously chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. It just melts in your mouth, not in your hands. But that's not a Built Bar. That's something else. Now, I'm not going to mention, but yeah, it is something that you need definitely check out. All Built Bars are made with collagen and protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provide tons of health benefits. That's why I do it. In between meals, I'm hungry, I'm starving, I need a quick snack to take the edge off. Go to Built Bar. Now, I got a special for you guys.
Yes.
For all you listeners, the viewers, go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off of your order. What you just say, Jarvis? Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. That's LOCK15. Use LOCK15 to get 15% off of your order. And that's a deal that's exclusively for you.
Awesome. And our guy, Mark Zeno, I just bumped into him, and he absolutely loves the Built Bar, so he gives them a thumbs up as well. And real quick on this one, Jarvis, because I want to really quickly get into another question as well. So real quick, what are you looking to see out of the play of Mariota and Ridder in training camp? And then I got one more question for you before we wrap up on the Falcons.
All right, so I think one of the things that for as far as Mariota goes, he's a guy that I think he's going to come in and be the guy. I think he's going to be the starter once the season starts on September 11th against the New Orleans Saints and Jameis Winston and friends come to town. I think that's going to be the case, and I think that Desmond Ridder is a guy going to be brought along. If he's going to play, I think it's going to be because of injury, because Marcus Mariota does not play full seasons. He never played 16 games in a 16-game season, so I'm not assuming that he's going to play in a 17-game season. So, and I think that, the reason why Ridder plays this year, and I think it's going to be mostly because Mariota is not going to be able to play.
Agreed. Absolutely. And as we are wrapping up, you think about the wide receiver room and the tight end room, it's pretty darn crowded. So we know that there is quantity in that room, and we know the quality, the cream of the crop would be, of course, Kyle Pitts and Drake London. But in terms of quality in that receiving and tight end room, who are you looking to see step up so that whether it's Mariota or it's Ridder, we know that they have additional strong weapons in that core?
You know what? There's two names that come to my mind when you think about this. It's a guy who was on this roster last year, and Olamide Zaccheaus and Alden Tate. Because the reason why Zaccheaus come to my mind is because I think that he's a guy that He doesn't look like everybody else in that receiver room, and I think you need some variety. I think you need a
Yes.
different style guy, a different type
Agree.
of body, a different body type. So, to be able to throw out there on the field because, you talk about matchups in basketball, like, oh, this guy's 6'8", this guy's 6'7", and all of that stuff, and he presents these type of advantages on the court. But I
Yeah.
think football kind of works in the same manner, right?
Okay.
Like you have Drake London is a 6'5" guy, 215, 220. Yeah, he has his advantages, but I think a guy like a 5'11" or 6 feet, like Zacchaeus, that's the type of person who presents his own advantages as well.
As well.
Once you put
Yes.
him in that slot, so I think that that's a guy I'll be looking for, and also I think Alden Tate, he had some injuries up in Cincinnati, and that wide receiver room got filled with buku amount of talent, so
Yes.
he had no choice but to be gone. But so I think that him having something to prove down here for the Falcons, I think it's going to be something that I think that Falcons fans should be on the lookout for.
Indeed. And when we come back, we'll tell you something you need to be on the lookout for in the pettiness of another team in the NL East. We'll talk about it in For the Culture when we get back.
Final segment with ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to thank you for rocking with us throughout the entire show. We thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen and view of the day. We are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. And remember, we are on Twitter. Locked On Sports Atlanta is on Twitter. Give us a follow at Locked On ATL. But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. And sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down. Now, coming off the All-Star break, as we know, the Braves are actually about to get ready to take on the Anaheim Angels tonight. But there was something that was kind of interesting that came out after the All-Star game. Juan Soto, there's a lot going on. He rejected the
Yes.
400 dang near half a billion dollar contract.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed, but it was over 15 years though. Some people want to talk about that,
Yeah.
But I think that that's kind of understandable, because the Nationals kind of stink right now.
Yeah.
And they, I kind of get it. I understand it. So, but typical standing procedure is to have a flight chartered for your player to go out and participate in the home run derby. That's how it normally goes, right? The Nationals said, heck no. And Juan Soto had to end up going out flying commercial at 1:30 in the morning to go out into the home run derby. And then, of course, he ends up winning the doggone thing. Now, I don't know what's going on in the Washington, D.C. area, but it just seems like all those teams, just ownership is just bad. It's just a whole lot of bunch of just cheapos and bad people that own the team down there. So, but my whole thing is y'all couldn't charter the man a flight out to L.A.? Come on.
Yeah. The Nats really, really have taken petty to a new level. They have elevated petty in the district.
You don't want to set that contract? We ain't gonna pay for your flight.
Right. But you know what? They may have shot themselves in the foot by doing that, because who knows? Maybe Juan Soto would have been willing to go back to the drawing board, go back to the negotiation table to say,
Right.
hey, let's talk about it again. But
Here's
I
what
don't
I'm
know.
thinking.
Exactly. I think you probably shot yourself in the foot. You probably really just destroyed any chance you had of salvaging anything with him. So yeah, I'm like, man, if he was not completely out the door, you put him on a commercial flight, a baseball player on a commercial flight. Oh, it's
Come
over.
on, man.
It's really, really over. But you know who's going to be laughing all the way to the bank with this foolishness? Juan Soto. Like, really.
Yeah.
All this does. And also, too, a lot of times these kinds of situations play out in the court of public opinion, right? And when people first heard the numbers $440 million
Right.
and they heard it was declined, folks were like falling out, like literally just falling down, like falling down the wall,
Right.
like
Yeah.
really, really having a moment there about that. And then, of course, like you said, we found out that it was across 15 years. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we kind of understand why he didn't take it. But
Right.
now this kind of shifts the court of public opinion potentially even more in Juan Soto's favor, because it's like, not that we feel sorry for millionaires, but there is a code that you operate by. And the Nats clearly said, to heck with that code. We don't give a flying flip. Get out there how you get out there, get back how you get back, and yeah, we'll go from there on the second half. We'll see how that
Man,
works for them.
that is just so
Oh,
stinky.
it is. And also, Jarvis, what kind of message does that send? I just thought about this as well because we always talk about the fact that you do want to not just look in the present, but also kind of look down the future, right? Look down the road. What kind of message does that send to a player that they potentially have interest in coming to the Nats? I know that's the first question I'd ask. Oh, so might you put me on a commercial flight at some point if things go
Right.
sour? Just saying.
You better start drafting well. That's all I gotta say, T. But I think that with SEC media days, winding down, there was
Mhm.
something quite interesting that Kirby Smart said about that classic down there in Jacksonville. He
Yeah.
don't want him to be there anymore. We'll talk
Nope.
about whether or not he has lost his mind or not. But first, T, tell everybody about Coffee AM.
Yes, yes, you all know we love Coffee AM. And again, just talking to my guy, Mark Zeno, you know what to do. You check him out after you check out ATL Day Ones. That's A to Z with Mark Zeno. And why am I telling you about that? Because he loves Coffee AM as well. So really across this whole Locked On Sports
Love it.
Atlanta team, we are fans. We are fans. We are fans. And why? Because we support local businesses. We also support businesses like this that are a small batch coffee roaster, best in the country. They do things that show that they care for you as a customer. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you go to their website and you order your products online, whether that's coffee, tea, or gift sets. Ultimately, they are then brewing it that day. So when you think about that, that really takes roasting or freshness, if you will, to that next level. And they roast current crop specialty grade coffee that they get from all over the world. So you're talking about fair trade, you're talking about direct trade, organic, if you are into the healthy, all of it. And again, I want to just stress that it's local. So we want to support businesses that are here in the ATL Metro. Now, you can go to coffeeam.com/locked on today. Look at that full menu. See if you like the coffees. See if you're like me and you like the teas, or maybe you see a gift set for one of your friends or family members who is really a coffee lover. That's coffeeam.com/locked on. And guess what? On that first order, you're going to get 15% off by using the coupon code locked on. So again, check them out at coffeeam.com/locked on.
You know what? And we talked about the Coffee AM and being in your right mind once you get a cup of coffee. I just love it
Yeah.
in the morning. Tea, it just gets me so right and so focused in. But
Hmm.
a lot of people think Kirby Smart may be a little bit crazy because he talked about the SEC media days that they want basically the rivalry between Georgia and Florida to be a home and home.
Hmm.
Like let's go back to regular. Now this thing has been going down in Jacksonville since 1933, and the contract is set to expire at the
Hmm.
end of 2023,
Yes.
and with
Yes.
a option to add 2 more years on it to
Hmm.
extend it out to 2025. Now, T, does Kirby Smart have a point here, or is he trying to work a certain angle that we might not necessarily be aware of at this point?
Oh, I think he has a great mind. Kirby is like he's a forward thinking guy, right? We see
Right.
how he
We talked about
slowly
that
made
yesterday. Hmm.
exactly slowly made the transition in terms of his shift in mindset about the NIL. He could see ahead and he's thinking about it. And again, you're talking about someone who comes from the Nick Saban tree. So he makes a great point about the fact that that Alabama Auburn game, the Iron Bowl, just switches every year,
Hmm.
every other year it's going to be there. So he's seen the impact of having that. One of the biggest rivalries, right? One of the biggest rivalries in college football. He's seen that go extremely well. And when you think about the travel time frame from a Tuscaloosa to an Auburn, it's kind of what with what you would do from the Atlanta Metro to Jacksonville, or what you would do. I'm sorry, to Gainesville, if you will, if
Hmm.
they go back and forth between Athens and Gainesville. But
Right.
here's what I really like. Here's the forward thinking part. He was already thinking about recruiting. He said, when that game is at Alabama, guess what they have? A boatload of recruits there to see how it's
Hmm.
going down. Same thing when that game is in
Yes,
Auburn.
Lord.
Don't you think that could be a good recruiting tool? And don't we always say on this show that nobody recruits like Kirby Smart? So definitely, he already has his eye on it. And listen, speaking of having your eye on things, Jarvis, I think we're going to have our eye on some things this weekend. We want to see how these Braves come back this first game, this first 3-game series, right, against the
Mm-hmm.
Angels, and kind of see what it is that they're working with to start off this second half of the season. You mentioned it earlier. Charlie Morton gets the start. Kyle Wright is in the middle, and Ian Anderson brings up the rear. So hopefully they'll get a sweep, but at least at a minimum win the series. We're going to start kind of looking, deep diving into more Falcons so we can get you guys ready for training camp next
Oh
week. Got some open
yes,
practices out there as well.
football
So we're going to
start.
be out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you are as well. You can see how excited this guy is. When he's talking Falcons, I have to literally tell him, okay, Jarvis, we got other stuff to talk about. So you already know, bruh is going to
Yes,
be
yes.
excited. He ready. He ready for next weekend. And hopefully we'll be able to talk to you guys about all of the things in sports that are happening right here in the ATL. So have a great weekend. Be safe out there. And again, after you check us out, make sure you check out Hitting Hard with John Chuckery and our boy Mark Zeno A to Z. Have a great weekend.
Y'all come back now. You're here.